Okay. The claim I'm responding to is that there's a sexual double standard against women and that males are allowed more sexual freedom than females. My opponent's secondary claims are that 1, most people are against women having premarital sex. 2, all throughout history there is a presence of sexual double standards. And 3, the media publicizes and influences the public to believe in double standards. In my opponent's secondary claim 1, that most people are against women having premarital sex, she starts with talking about Ira Reese was a woman who was the first to do a large-scale study of the sexual double standard in 1964, and that she took a sample of 1,550 people and concluded that 67% of Americans did not approve of the women having premarital sex. The source that this was supposed to come from said that first, Ira Reese is a man. Second, the study included a sample of 1,550 adults, but also random samples of students from 5 selected high schools and colleges. And in the student sample, only 25% agreed with the sexual double standard, and in the adult sample, only 9% agreed with the sexual double standard. The 67% came out of nowhere. Next, my opponent said that in 2002, Michael J. Marks, a sexual researcher with a PhD in social psychology, completed an experiment with a sample of 8,080 people worldwide, and 85% believe in sexual double standards. According to the source, this only says that 85% of people believe in the existence of sexual double standards. It doesn't mean that they support it, and it doesn't even mean that it's really there. Next, my opponent said that this experiment showed that as the number of sexual partners reported increased, male targets would be evaluated more positively and female targets more negatively. However, the source this is supposed to come from said that that in this study there was little evidence that women are evaluated more negatively than men for having many sexual partners. In my opponent's secondary claim number 2, that double standards existed in the past, she listed ways that women were treated inhumanely in the past, and this really doesn't prove anything. Obviously, sexism was prevalent in the past, and there's really no argument here. In my opponent's secondary claim number 3, that media influences the public to believe that the double standard exists. My opponent lists off 2 ways, or lists how conservative Christian groups and some pop culture groups support abstinence. And these quotes were taken from a book that was arguing that purity is not related to virginity. It has no real correlation to the sexual double standard against women. Next, my opponent said that the author of Purity Myth, the book that the quotes were supposed to come from, Jessica Valenti interviewed several men about their thoughts of women engaging in premarital sex. Most of them had negative comments about it. A common phrase amongst the men was, "Why buy the cow if the milk is free?" I could find no evidence of interviews in the text or the references of the book. Also, the saying really makes no sense in the context. However, the saying was used to describe how men are likely to have sex outside of marriage, in a source previously used in the argument. According to Marx, contemporary authors, critics, and the media may actually be perpetuating the belief in the sexual double standard by unintentionally providing confirming evidence for the double standard while ignoring disconfirming evidence. Though 85% of people may believe that the sexual double standard against women exists, there's really no evidence for it.
All right, the labels are clear. The signpost on the first point was pretty good. I'm not sure what the impact of your argument about Ira being a man, not a woman, was, other than maybe potentially trying to embarrass the advocate because they misidentified their gender. The double standard argument is challenged, and I thought that the percentages being unclear was a good point to make, but the way in which you figured out that they were unclear was not clear to me. And again, I think that it may be because we have to look at the information itself. That's part of the problem. I did like your explanation about the double standard, that it shows that people believe that it exists, not that they support it. And it doesn't actually prove that it exists, only that people believe that it exists. I thought that was interesting. I did like the fact that you used the advocate's own source as a way to show that there's little evidence to justify some of the conclusions that the advocate themselves seem to be making. I thought that was a good use of some of the information in the argument. On the second point, basically, you're making a relevance argument, and I thought that was fine. Your explanation on it was pretty clear. On the third point, there's again good labeling here. There's a challenge to the double standard. I thought that's okay. The argument that I thought was especially convincing was the claim that there wasn't any interview information in the text, and the context in which the one quote is being made doesn't exist in the argument that's being discussed there. And I thought you did a pretty good job on that. I did like the summary information. It sounds like you're quoting somebody, Marx. I'm not sure if that's Karl Marx or some other kind of Marx. I don't really get a reference there. I get a name, and that's all. But it's good analysis there that perhaps they're ignoring disconfirming evidence on this particular point. I thought that you did a pretty good job, like I said, organizing and explaining some of the concepts, making it a lot more clear what the argument is in this situation. The delivery is a little bit problematic. You got your hands in your pockets for the most part, and at one point you're following along with your finger on the podium, so it looks a little awkward. But the voice, I thought, was very confident and expressed the ideas clearly. Thank you.